we intercept communications that he's planning to kill me and whoever comes with me. He's got shooters in the restaurant. He's got shooters outside the restaurant. He's got IEDs in the flower beds. A bunch of our team is dressed like Haji, and then they stage a drive-by shooting. So we've got Archon's keffiyeh, his red and white keffiyeh, and we made sure we had a little bit of Archon's blood on it. That we punched him in the face a couple times, got blood on his keffiyeh. We left that in the car, and these guys drive by and they spray the car with AK-47 rounds. This was now my third rotation, I believe. I did the initial invasion, we did Samara, and then we went to Kirkuk. And this was a long one. This was 8 months in Iraq. It was the longest one that I had ever done. And we lived in the city in Kirkuk. So there was this dude named Archon, and he was the CIA, he was internal affairs for the police up there. So whenever there was some corruption or whenever something went on, it was Archon's job to go in and find out who the traitor was. You know what I mean? And he was being paid by Al Qaeda. And we found this out, and we go and we tell all these different agencies, and we tell the conventional commanders that he's a double agent. He's playing everybody, and they're like, no, he's not. He's our buddy. Blah 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 blah. And I got like smoking gun evidence of what it was, and people just didn't want to accept that. So we came back from an op one day, and his people ambushed us, and I think we lost one Iraqi, and one of our Iraqi team leaders got shot pretty badly in the arm. And I was like, okay, I've had enough. Like, you guys don't want to acknowledge who he is. I know he's done this. We have the recordings. It's complete evidence. So he's going away. And then that's when we're sitting around the gorilla suit talk. It's like, how do we do this? So I was supposed to meet Archon, because this was going to be one of those things where it was like, hey, I know what you're up to. No one else cares. I care. So beat it. You know what I mean? Go somewhere else. You know what I mean? And he basically, that was going to be what that meeting was going to be about, if I remember. But we were supposed to meet at a restaurant, and we intercept communications that he's planning to kill me and whoever comes with me. He's got shooters in the restaurant. He's got shooters outside the restaurant. He's got like IEDs in the flower bed. So he's got like a bunch of backups on all of this stuff. You know what I mean? And I couldn't quite prove it. Like, I didn't, I couldn't quite prove that all that was going to happen. But it was all happening very fast. Like, this is in the course of a few hours where we're coming to terms with this. So I call him and say, hey man, I can't come meet you for lunch, dinner, whatever it was, lunch. Why don't you come over to our place? And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll come over to our place. And it wasn't like a huge secret where we lived, but it was, it wasn't public knowledge. And I was like, you know where we live? He's like, oh, I know where you live. Which entrance do you want me to take? So he's kind of playing tough guy. And I was like, yeah, take the whatever, Aruba entrance or whatever it was. And now, so we got a couple hours. He's on his way. Now we're sitting there with a whiteboard, and we're like, okay, so we'll only let him in, and this, and we'll hand him over to the Kurds, and they'll take him up to Suleimania, and they'll try him because he was wanted for murder and all this. They had all the evidence that Americans were looking the other way on. So Archon shows up, and he's got a huge security detail with him, like 3 or 4 vehicles and like 10 dudes, and we're like, hey man, they all can't come in. Like, this is my house. We have the gate. You can come in, but just walk in. He's like, no. He's like, I got to come in with my driver. He monitors my comms. I need to drive in with at least my driver and my personal security. So we're making all the calls on the fly. It's like, okay, that's fine. Come on in. So he drives in. He parks. He comes into our house, and we start having our meeting. And now we're trying to figure out, like, okay, we're about to kidnap this guy, and his car's here. How do we, you know what I mean? So we haven't figured it out yet, but I'm just like, I don't care. Like it's over. He killed one of my guys, one of my Iraqi buddies. He hurt one. This guy's done. So he comes in and we sit down and we're drinking coffee and they're always smoking cigarettes. And I'm straight with them. Like, hey man, I know what's going on, and this is your last chance. Come clean. We might be able to use you. All your buddies that like they might be able to salvage you, but you need to start talking truth, or we're sending you up to Suli. The Kurds are in the basement right now. He's just like, what Kurds? And I'm like, the Asayish, which is the internal group. He's like, which ones? I was like, none of your damn business. They're downstairs. You know what I mean? And he's like, we're friends. We're friends. Why? Why are you doing this to me? And I'm like, you know why? So we have this discussion, and he's playing hardball. That was the other thing too that I think is interesting is I've had discussions like this with a couple dudes, and every single one of them was cool as a cucumber. Like I've never seen a guy flinch. I've never seen him worried about dying. I've never seen them tremble. They're just like, bring it. Don't care, you know. So we call the Kurds up from the basement. I think he thought I was bluffing until I get on the radio and I'm like, all right, come on up. And they come running up the stairs. And he's like, the fuck? And then the door opens up and now he finally breaks demeanor where he's like, Arr! And all these Kurds hog pile on him and tie him up with flex cuffs, and we bring him out through the basement garage. So our house was here, and there was this entrance, and then there was another entrance over here that you couldn't see, so you could drive, like through our house. So Archon's car is parked right here in full view of his security detail, and we trunk monkeyed him over here and sped off to go up to Suli, and his security guard is sitting out in the foyer just like smoking cigarettes. You know what I mean? Um, So now we're like, okay, now what? So we get a whiteboard. So Archon's gone, and his car is here. His security guy is sitting out there. So we're like, okay, now what do we do? How do we make it look? So one of the guys is like, hey, we'll pull the Jeeps up and we'll wash the trucks. The big gun trucks that we have. So we get the security guard out because he's going to go get the food. The food that we were supposed to eat at the restaurant is ready. So he walks out and gets in another car, and he leaves Archon all by himself with us because we're in a meeting, and he goes to get the food. And so now all that's left is Archon's vehicle. So the boys come around and they park between the security detail and the car, and they start washing the Jeeps. You know, and as they're washing the Jeeps, they take like an hour to wash the Jeeps. Dudes jump in Archon's car and they go out the backside, and then they drive up to this area. Again, if people are paying attention to Kirkuk, they go up to this area called Bajuan, which is another tribe. I think I forget if I think he's Al Abadi tribe. But this group in Bajuan don't like Archon's tribe, and it's a bad area again. It's like gang turf land, right? So uh, a bunch of our team is dressed like Haji, and they drive the car up there, and then they stage a drive-by shooting. So we've got Archon's keffiyeh, his red and white keffiyeh, or black and white. I can't remember which color it was. Um, and we made sure we had a little bit of Archon's blood on it. That we punched him in the face a couple times, got blood on his keffiyeh, and we left that in the car, and these guys drive by and they spray the car with AK-47 rounds, and then they speed away, and it's supposed to look like a drive-by shooting with Archon. Um, so we're like, we got it. We figured it out. Like this thing's done. In the meantime, the security guy comes back. He doesn't notice the car gone, and he delivers us all the chow. And he's like, does Archon need anything? And one of my guys opens the door. He's like, Archon, do you need anything? No, he's fine, man. And nobody's there. And he shuts the door and he's like, okay, I'm gonna go. And he went back to the security detail. Didn't notice Archon's car was gone. So we're like, okay, like this is an easy day. So we're eating chow, and again we got the whiteboard out, and we're just trying to figure all this out. And then they move the trucks, and the security detail doesn't they don't notice that Archon's vehicle isn't there yet. So somewhere in the middle of this, I hear over the radio, the conventional forces radio, hey, there was a shooting up in Bajuan. There's a silver sedan that was shot up, and there's a blue BMW that did the shooting, and it's heading south on Route 1 or some shit like that. And I'm like, oh balls, those are our guys. I'm more afraid of conventional forces like shooting up our guys. So it's two of our guys dressed like locals. And I call the guy that was driving was Johnny, and I call John. I'm like, hey man, like I'll be on the lookout. A bolo just went out for the blue Mercedes that you guys are in. How far out are you? He's like, we're about 2 minutes out. I'm like, okay, get here and get here as fast as you can. So he pulls in. I don't remember if the vehicle was blue or green, but whatever it was, as soon as he pulls in, we pull into the garage and we take the plates off and we turn the color from one to the other. You know what I mean? So we're trying to cover our tracks. People are recognizing it's Archon's vehicle. You know what I mean? I don't remember at what point they appreciated that Archon was missing. You know what I mean? At least from the American chatter. And then I walk over to the security detail. They're all kind of standing around their truck smoking, and I've got like a silver platter with like snackies and drinks on it. And I'm like, oh, hey, I didn't realize you guys were still here. This is through an interpreter. And they're like, oh, why? What do you mean? I was like, well, Archon left like an hour ago. And they look, you know what I mean? And now they notice that his vehicle's gone. And they're like, where did he go? And I said, I think I heard Bajuan. That was the only word I recognized in Arabic was Bajuan. And they say he can't go to Bajuan without us. Like that's dangerous. I was like, I think he went to Bajuan. And they're like, they freak out and they jump in their cars and they take off. And now all of us are back in the house, like with our whiteboard, and we're like, I think that worked. And then our buddies in Sully call and they're like, Archon's here, he's in our prison, and our guys got back and everything was said and done. And then the next day, this happened like late afternoon or something. I don't remember exactly. The next day I'm in to see my boss, and he's like, oh, I'm sure you heard like somebody kidnapped or killed Archon, and everyone's looking for him. And I'm like, it was us. Like, he's up in Sully. And he's like, what? Like, how come he's like, you didn't, he was kind of quasi pissed and kind of quasi like, that's some SF shit right there. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, he's up in Sully, and they're going to put him on trial for all this shit that I've been talking about for the last half a year. And he's like, all right. Yeah. We're going to have to admit it at some point. I'm like, yeah, we will. And he's like, I'll see if I can hold it off for about 48 hours. You know what I mean? So to his credit, you know who you are, sir, badass. We just played dumb for 48 hours. And then finally, the brigade commander, the colonel that was there, we finally said, sir, we know where he is. Rather not talk about the details, but he's up in the prison in Suleimania. They're going to try him for his crimes. And he was kind of like, okay. And that was the end of Archon.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the interview. As you could probably tell, this is a brand new channel. So if you got anything out of this at all, please like the video, leave me a comment, tell me what you thought, tell me who you'd like to see on the show. I see every like, I read every comment, and I appreciate all of it, especially in the beginning, because as you know, that kind of support goes a long way on these platforms. So most importantly, I have some awesome guests coming up in the future for interviews. So please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of them. But again, thank you for your time. Appreciate the support and hope to see you again soon.